Alright, in this video we are going to see how to create currency converter application using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So this is our 68th JavaScript project in our playlist. In case if you have wondered, you want to learn about JavaScript, I'll leave the link of the playlist in the description. So go through it. So this is a playlist which I was talking about. We have many games here and this is the vanilla JavaScript tutorial. I'll leave this link in the description. Cool. Now let's get into this project and to follow along, I'll leave the source code in the description. So in case if you got stuck somewhere, you can just copy paste the code and start along with me. Now the thing what we need to do first is we need to have a XAMPP because we are going to use an API to get the value. If you see, this is converting from USD to INR, so we don't have to write JavaScript for each and every conversion. So what we do is we have an API that will take care of this. So for the API to run, we need a local host. So in this case, I'm using XAMPP. I would recommend you to do either XAMPP, or if you are in Windows, you can use XAMPP, anything relevant to local servers thing. Cool. Now I'm going to open a Visual Studio Code. We need three files, and we'll be creating all the CSS and the JavaScript from scratch. So these are the files which I was talking about. So for the HTML, we'll just go through the HTML instead of writing line by line. It would take more time. So I'll just explain the HTML that we need. So on the head tag, we need font awesome icon. Why font awesome icon? Because this arrow comes from font awesome icon. For this, we are using the CDN, and then we have a style sheet which will write the style sheet from scratch, and then we have three script files. This one is list.js. Let me show you what it does. Control V, list.js, which will have the currency as well as the country code in the object. So you'll see we have a long list of about 160 lines, the currency and the country code, which is stored in the object called list country list. So you can call this in this script file as well, but I would like to have this on a separate file in case if you got confused. And the third script file is API key. So why API key? So the API key is required for this project. We would be using two API, which is flag CDN. This will get the country. So if I change the drop down, you will see the relevant flag shows up. So this is coming from the API called flag CDN, and the next API is the exchange rate API. So for this we need API key. So for my security reason, I'm just calling the API key from a different file with the help of I have stored the key in a variable and I'm calling this over here. So the only thing what we need to remember is we have to keep the API key above where we are going to call. In the script file we are calling the API key, so I have declared the API key over here and I'm calling it over here. So that's all what you need to know for the external files that are linked in the HTML. Then we have the wrapper div. So this wrapper div, if you see the box, the purple box is the wrapper div, and then we have an HTML. So this is heading. This is the heading, and then we have form. So all the things is surrounded inside a form. So you can see all the things is surrounded in the form, and this first is a separate div block. So if you see, enter amount is a separate div block which I have called it as a class called input, and I have a paragraph. So you can see this is the paragraph, and then we have input field. So this is the input field. Then we come to the second sibling of the input field, second sibling of form. So you will see the form has only two siblings. The first one is input and the second one is holder. So inside the holder, not holder, and then we have exchange rate also, and we have exchange rate button also. So we have four siblings inside the form. So for the holder, you will see this box. We have image, drop down, and then we have icon, then we have image, then drop down. So all these are inside the div called holder. So if you see, and this drop down and this image is on a separate div. So this is image and then select tag. The same here, we have icon, then I tag, and then we have to. From and to is really a common div, so just the class name is different, or else everything is same. And then we have exchange it. So by default, if you load, this space will be filled with dashes. And then we have another div called, this will act as a button. So what we are going to do is, let me just keep the backup of this, so in case for your reference. Cool. The first thing we need index, so I'll name it as index2.html, index2.html. And then we have style, so we'll name it as style2.css. And then we have script, I'll name it as script2.js, and rest I'll use the same file, so you can get this in the source code, this object and our API key. I'm not going to open for my security reason. And let me just copy the HTML without wasting time. Now for the style sheet, I'll just copy the common style which is for all element, and the font which we are going to use. We are going to use the font called Roboto, and for all element I am using the Roboto font. Cool. Now we have named it as index2.html, index2.html. You can directly call it. And on the HTML, we have to replace the external files, which is style2.css and script2.js. Now this is how it looks without CSS. Now let's work on the CSS. The first thing, we need to call the body and center the div. So just for our understanding, let me give background color as red. So not for the body. So let it be not an issue. So display flex, align items center, justify content center, and height. In order for the align item to work, we need to have the vertical viewport height. Now you can see this is the center. Now we have a wrapper which holds all our div. We'll give the color as background yellow, so we can adjust the color over here. Let me make the yellow a little light so it doesn't take so much of focus. Cool. So I'm okay with the color. In case you will follow the same color pattern. In case if you want to know how to add colors, so we have a website called there are many websites. Let me get it from my bookmark. So colors, click on it and we'll get the color palettes. So this is color hunt, so you can choose any color from this link. So not to waste time and directly jumping into functionality, so let me give the padding for all sides. It is going to be 40 pixel, and border radius 50 pixel, sorry, it's 10 pixel, and we can give box shadow 1 pixel top and bottom, 1 pixel left and right, sorry, it's x-axis and it's y-axis, and it's blur and the color black, and you can spread the black by 8 pixel and make the y-axis. So I'm leaving this to you. Have the perfect gradient, sorry, have the perfect box shadow by playing with this number. Then what we have is the heading. Inside the wrapper we have a heading which is h1. We can give padding or margin, padding top and bottom 20 pixel, left and right 0, and we can make this top, right, bottom, left. We can increase as per our will. This looks too much. Cool. Then we have inside the wrapper we have form. Inside the form we have select tag, and we have input field. I'm going to call both of them and give padding to them 20 pixel. I'm not going to give the perfect value. I'm going to leave this to you. 10 pixel top and bottom, left and right 5 pixel. And I want the background for the input field to be transparent and border to be none. So if I refresh, this is how it looks. And I just need the border bottom. So border bottom 1 pixel solid white. For the contrast we can keep either white, or white doesn't look good, we'll stick with black. I say hash absence of color is 0. Then we can make this 2 pixel. Cool, that works. Now we have to play with the flex. Now we have wrapper inside the form. We have a class called input, which field input, this class holds the paragraph and the input field. So display flex, align items center, justify content center. So we want space between them, so we'll use space between, or you can use space around. The same way, call this and use it for the select. So the holder is a thing, holder, which holds the select tag and the image, so dir, and inside the holder we have from, and also 2 is also going to have the same thing, 2, just take the comma, and the holder itself need to be need to act as a row. So now you got it. Now we just need to play with the padding and the margin. So for the holder, let's have margin top of 20 pixel, 30 pixel, and a bottom of 40 pixel. I think that doesn't work. Sorry, it's a shorthand property. Cool. Now for our understanding, we need to have some select option tag inside them. Option India IND. Let this be 2 more times. Copy the same value and give them. Refresh it. Cool. Now we can increase the size. I'll just get into the, let's just call the image and give a height of 30 pixel. That works. Now we can play with the padding for the select tag. Padding top and bottom 10 pixel, left and right 20 pixel. So that seems to working. So call the select tag and give the color, sorry, give the style. We don't have select tag, SLECT. Call them, refresh it. So now you got it. So all set. Now we just need to work on the exchange value div, which will act as the final result display. So background yellow, padding 20 pixel, top bottom window left right 10 pixel, and margin bottom 20 pixel, and we can just make this transparent. Just copy this and paste it over here, and it will, once you refresh, it will act same. Now whatever is there inside the value, we need to align text center, and we can make the font size also big, font size 30 pixel, font size 38 pixel. I'm running out of charge. Cool. Now let's design the button. Same thing, get the button we have button. Let let there be margin, text and center, font size also. We just need to remove the border as none, to big, make the font size smaller. Cool, that works. Just replace this, copy and paste once again. Whatever is there inside, we need to have text align center. Cool. So far we have made this style, so I'm leaving this to you. If you make some minor changes on the numeric values to the CSS which we have created, we can make such a beautiful form like this. So for the time limitation, I'm just sticking to this kind of design and moving forward with the JS. So for the JS, we need to call all the input field. So document dot query selector. So we'll call input field, we'll call select, and then this is from, and this is to, and then we have the output div and a button. We can directly call the button. And where is the output div? We have named the output div as exchange rate. So we need to store this to a variable. So this is input. So this is select. So this is from currency, and this is going to be to currency, and then we have button. Now we need to populate the drop down using the object which we have in the list.js. Cool. So for that, we need to select the input field select. Sorry, not the input field, it's the select field. So for that, document.query selector all, because we have two element, I'm using all. So we need to select two, LECT, select all drop down. So we'll get all the drop down. So we'll use for each for loop for variable I equal to 0, I is greater than drop down length, then increment the I. So with this we can access one by one drop down. So we'll just need to pass I, and I'll show you using console.log, pass the value. So let's get into the inspect, then we have console, refresh this. So now we have two select field, that's what we are getting it. Cool. Now what we can do is, since we can access individual select field, input select field, yeah, that's right. Now we are going to use for in an object. So x in the object is country list. So now we can access one by one using x. So let me just show you. Just pass the x here and just comment this, refresh it. So you can see we can access individually one by one. So this is what the key. So to access the value, we can simply make this, call the main object and pass the x, and we'll get the key. This is the key. Just comment this as key, and this is value. Just for your understanding, comment this. Cool. Since we can access individual key, so what we need the currency. So where the currency is, we just need the key. So call the select tag. Yes, we can call the select tag, I dot. So we can use inner HTML, and we have a new concept called, so this is it, insert adjacent HTML. So this is select inside the select. I want the option tag to be embedded. So we are going to embed the option tag plus equal to and backticks. So call the option tag and paste it. So we need key, so we can directly access $x the same way. Now let's check whether we have properly embedded all the HTML. Option tag is not defined, so we can use variable. So actually it need to be declared outside. So you can see the reason for using insert adjacent is, if I use inner HTML, the value which I have already added will get disappear. So if you see, it is still there. It is because of the inner HTML. We are using the insert adjacent HTML, and now the values are good. Now what we need is, I want to select USD for the first drop down and India for the second drop down. So for that we need to use if condition, if and else if also. In the if condition we are going to check if x equal to USD. It's for the first one, so we have to take this, and we're going to check with the I. If I equal to 0, that means first select field. Else if I equal to 2, sorry, I equal to 1, the index starts from 0 and 1. 0 means first select field, 1 means second select field. If it is 1, then what we need to do is, we have to create a variable called select. Let's create a variable called variable selected, and store. We are going to use ternary operator here. What we are saying is, if x is equal to USD, then add selected. If not, don't add it. The same way, if it is INR, then add it, or else don't add it. So we will be using the variable here selected one by one. So if you still remember, we are in the for loop of the object. So for each object the for loop will run, and for each there is going to be a checking. So if there is USD, then selected will be added. If not, then this will be added. Let me check. So USD and INR are on its place. Now once I click on the get exchange rate, the conversion should happen. So for that I'm going to add an event listener. So we have already called button, we have declared button dot add event listener, and it's going to be click function now. By default, once I click on button, what is going to happen, you are going to see, once I click, there is going to be a page reload. So we don't want that. So to stop, what we can do is, we'll be using the prevent default function. So even if I click, the page is not going to get refreshed, because we have used the function prevent default. Now if you see, once I hover on the button, we are not getting the cursor. So cursor pointer. So if I refresh, now you'll see, once I hover over the button, the cursor turns into a pointer. That's what I have written. It's still not getting changed. Hard refresh, make sure it's saved. Yeah, you can see now the cursor turns into a pointer. Cool. Now we are going to call a function. So calculate conversion function, because I'll show you why we are writing function, because the same function we would be calling it once on a page reload. So once I click on this function, once I click on the button, I want the input field value dot value, and I'm going to get a I'm going to add a condition. If it is blank, or if it is 0, then make the input field value as 1. And don't forget to set the value. You already call this input field dot value equal to 1. Now this is blank. This is input field value, and this is the variable. This is the variable, and this is the input field value. Refresh it. Once I click on the button, the value need to be 1, but it's not changing it to 1. Let me see why. Hard refresh. Click on exchange rate. Document.query selector input field dot value. Let's filter console.log the value of the input field. We know it's blank, but still we'll check. So it's blank, so this function is working. And if it is blank, then, or if it is 0, then make the input field value equal to 1. Yes, it's working. There's a cache problem. If you click on, now you'll see it's 0. We don't want it to be 0, we want it to be 1. Click on, yeah, it's 1 now. Now we are going to call the fetch API. So this is how the fetch API would be. We would be having a URL, and we'll be using the URL to the fetch. So if you see, this is coming from an API. So in order to get the API, you need to sign in with your Gmail, and you will receive an API on the same dashboard. And then we need to pass the currency. So the currency from currency, let me just copy this, paste it over here. On each button click, I want to revalidate it. So we'll just use this, and then at present it's USD. So you will get, using the fetch API, you will get the response in the JSON format. So you can just ignore this for now. Control comment this and just console and check it. Console.log. Instead of JSON, we can just have text and check. Now you will see all the values once I click on exchange it. So on the pending, you will see there seems to be an error. So it's null, it's showing null, it's blank at present. We'll just directly pass the USD value, refresh it. Just for your understanding, I'm doing this. Since the value is getting fetched from the API, the application is a little slow. Now click on get exchange rate. On the promise, you will find all the values. Let's just check those values using the JSON. Uncomment this, and let this be JSON, and we can check those values on the result. Console.log on result, exchange rate, and you see on the conversion rates there are the actual conversion. So this conversion is based on the USD which we have passed. So if I change the drop down, the conversion needs to be changed. Now dot conversion rates, if I refresh it, click on exchange rate, and now we can directly access them. Cool. Now we need to have some calculation over here. So we are getting the value, exchange rate value on USA. So converted value equal to the input field which I am going to pass, which let's say 100. So we can access the input field using input dot value into the exchange rate which we have got. So here inside we need to pass 2. So this is USD and 2 INR. So we need to find INR over here. So the INR we can access it over here with this dot value underscore value. Just pass this and let's check console dot log. We got the conversion value, but we need to multiply them 100 exchange rate. Cannot read property of null because we haven't passed the value. Hard refresh it. 100. The conversion is going to be INR, and let's change the value to some other thing. It's getting slow. Actually it's not from, it's to, and from value we need to pass here dot value from currency underscore value. Since we have used backtick, we can call the template literal syntax. Control Shift R. Okay, the problem is because we have to take this outside and paste it, and now it's going to work. Refresh it, and I have made one more modification, which is place this inside and take this select tag outside, or else there's going to be so much loop. Change this value, click exchange rate, cannot read properties of value. I think I have commented it for just testing. Uncomment this and check. Take any value, exchange rate, line number 44. It is not able to get this value. Let me see why. Okay, from to, it's not from to, it's from select, and to select. Yes, it's getting, we are getting from USD to INR, because INR is there, it's 82. Now let's take different value. Yes, we are getting it. Now we just need to populate it. So how we are going to populate it? 1 USD equal to some X INR. So call the div which is going to show the output, and use the inner HTML dot inner HTML equal to, use the backtick. So this is 1 and this is 2 equal to, this is 3 and this is 4. Here the 1 value would be coming from the input field, input dot value, and this USD would be coming from the from value, and this is the converted value, and this is the INR, which is the to currency value. Now let's check. Click on exchange rate, This is not defined, I'm sorry. I think the variable is different. I think we have cleared the above. It's going to be select, and it's going to be 2. Exchange it. Cannot set property of null inner HTML. I think it's not getting the value. So what we'll do, one thing, we'll just directly call this. Actually it's a class, that's the reason that may not get it. Cool, we got the output. Let me change the value. It is working as we thought. The value is also getting converted. Now if you want to make this 2 fixed, we have that option as well. So the converted value, which is here, and we can make this dot 2 fixed 2. So we'll get only 2 value 150. So you can see only 2 value. Cool. Then now next thing is this image change, and on window page load, let me say like this, window dot add event listener on page load, we will be calling this function. If I refresh the page, you will see the value. If I refresh the page again, that's working. Cool. Now we need to add an event listener again for the select field. So you'll see we can access individual select tag using this, as I have already seen. Dot add event listener, which is what? Which is change. If there's a change, then we can call a function, or instead of directly calling a function, we can directly have access. We can actually make changes over here, and with this we need to get the parent, e dot parent element. So this is going to be what? This is going to be either from or to. So for the select tag, the parent is from or to. Sorry, it's not prevent default, it's parent element. And from the parent we can access image, query selector image. Let me check, refresh this. If you change this, undefined, cannot read property of undefined, this image. Okay, let me just control log and check. Refresh this. Let's see whether we are getting the parent element or not. E dot target, that could cause changes. Yes, we got it. That was the issue. Dot query selector, and then we have image. Change this. Yes, we got it. Now we can modify the src here. Change the value, and we got the src. Now what we need to do is we need to get the value of the input field, sorry, select field. How we are going to do? E dot target dot value, e dot target dot value equal to selected currency. Let me just console and check. Console dot log Yes, SOS, we got it. Now we need to check with the uh, list.js. So the same way, so this is for the value. Just use the same for loop, and as we have already seen, to get the value we'll be using this. And now if our selected currency is equal to the value which we have got, if this matches, then console dot log, just find found, just type found, and then show the selected currency. Remove this. If we make changes, and we got this, but it's not running, this is not getting run. So let me extend. Cool, everything seems fine. Let me just uncomment this and let's check whether we are able to loop through all the. Yes, we are able to loop through it. Okay, we don't need a country over, we need a key itself. So I think we just need key, so we just need X to it. Now if I refresh and make a change, we don't have to display all the values. I'm going to comment this. Refresh. Yes, we have found it. So if you found, then just modify the src of the image with the country code. So the URL is going to be like this. We'll use backtick, and we need country so we can pass this dollar, and if you notice, this is in capital, but we need this to be small, so 2 lowercase. It's a function. Control V. Now let's check. Modify this. Yes, this can change. You can change the image now, and click on exchange rate. 1 SVD is equal to 1 DDK. Cool, that's working. So I believe the scope of this video is done. Thank you so much for listening.